Thank you again for joining me. My name is Natasha, and I'll be reading you some poems and some stories. The first one is a short poem. Every time I see your face, I remember our last dance. It was you who set the pace, and I felt I lost my chance. I was a mumbling fool. And yes, I'll admit, but I was so taken by your beauty. I was smitten by your charm and ready wit. It was painful for me. I was truly not ready to admit that I could fall in love so fast. After all, I've had many affairs in the past. But with you, I really felt it was going to last. There I was, stumbling over your lovely feet. To tell you the truth, I was ready for defeat. How could I, a lowly accountant with little money, attract such a lady as you? I felt so unworthy. But here we are, the two of us together, knowing we pledged our troth for life forever. I am the luckiest man who ever lived on this earth. And thank God every day for you and our coming child's birth. This little story is entitled Love Story ? This couple I know was in their teens when they married, and at that time they had virtually no money. He was unable to finance his fiancée's the engagement ring, which he dearly wanted her to have, and he never forgot that fact. Over the years, he worked hard. His wife stayed home taking care of the children, and it was always a struggle to make ends meet. What she did not know was that during all those years, he had been squirreling away little by little some of the money. On their 25th anniversary, his face beaming with love and anticipation, he presented her with a little jewelry box, beautifully packaged. Inside, on a velvet cushion, was the shiny diamond engagement ring she never had. Her first words were, "Oh, honey, I can't accept this. It's much too expensive, and we need so many other things." He said, "Darling, it's for you. I want you to have it." She answered, "Oh, you really are a dear, but you must take it back." She did not see his crestfallen face at the thought that this gift, so lovingly saved for over the years, had been so lightly refused. Years later, when he told me this story in front of his wife, it was with the same sorrow he had felt, and it showed the depth of his hurt. His wife then realized what a terrible and hurtful thing she had said and done. Later in life, they had enough money to travel and live a little more lavishly. But she never wore an engagement ring in her lifetime. This story is titled The Circus Lady. It is true I was written up in the Enquirer magazine. Oh, don't be jealous, Melanie. Ask yourself, why would people even want to know about me? Take a good look, and yes, and what do you see? A fat lady, you say? Oh, no, dear. Not just a fat lady, not even a grossly overweight woman, but the fattest, biggest, slobbiest one in the United States. I'm even in the book of records, you know, the Ripley one. You think that any kind of fame is worth it rather than to remain unknown all your life and feel you are a nothing? Oh, you are so wrong, so very, very wrong. You see, I'm labeled a freak of nature. What do I do for a living? Oh, you're a sweet thing to be so interested. I worked in a circus, the famous Ringling Brothers Circus. Ha, you're quick. You notice that I say worked in the past. The good old days of circuses are gone. We had these sideshows where people like, okay, freaks, let's tell it as it is, could sit and be gaped at and be paid. Was it a terrible life? No, not at all. Let me explain. We were like a family. We understood each other. We all had had a painful life in what you call the real world. We all had been shunned by society, and most of us by our families who were ashamed of us. We all felt unloved. We all had been depressed and suicidal. To escape their plight, some turned to alcohol and drugs. And then, by some chance or miracle, we were recruited by the circus, and I had a place to live and people to talk to. You have no idea how isolated we had felt, and the joy of speaking to another human being who understood our feelings was a revelation. I came close to believe in God's goodness for a while. Up to then, I thought he had played a cruel joke by making me this travesty of a woman. Little by little, we all learned about caring for each other. And I can safely say we loved each other. We saw beyond the outward appearances. If someone felt blue, we were there to cheer him or her up. If someone was sick, he was looked after around the clock by his chums. As I said, we finally understood the word family. Oh, Melanie, that's a very good question. How did I feel when people stared at me? Some of the kids, rude ones, made faces, puffed up their cheeks, and walked like ducks. Others looked at me open-mouthed, and others hid the stuff they were eating behind their backs. It made me laugh like I cared. But I essentially ignored the crowd. I was comfortable in an armchair made especially for me. It had soft cushions and had a footstool for my legs. It's hard for me to stand and difficult to walk. So I just sat and dreamed, or just looked forward to seeing my pals in the evening. They came to my trailer because it was easier for me. You see how thoughtful they were? We talk about all kinds of things. Some were very smart and had read a lot. Others had traveled with other circuses. We were never bored. What happened? Well, people's tastes changed, and circuses were no longer the great attractions. And liberals felt sideshows were demeaning to both the freaks and their audience. So we had to separate. I live in this retirement place. I have a room. And yes, they let me keep this armchair, which I'm sitting in. And now and then, I have visitors, just like you, Melanie. After you have written your article in the school paper, show it to me. I really would like to see it. You say that I don't speak much about my childhood? Well, what is there to say? I guess the first few years were all right, but when I started to grow so fat, my parents really couldn't stand me anymore, and they sent me to an orphanage. That didn't last too long, because they felt that I not only ate too much, but they had to have a special bed for me, etc. I even was in a mental hospital because there was room. But one of the Ringling brothers heard about me, and now you know the rest of the story. Melanie, don't cry. Just you be happy knowing that you can choose how you want to live and how to make your dreams a reality. You are a normal young girl. Cherish that thought. Oh, you want to see me again? Now you're making me cry. I would love it. I have something to look forward to. Thank you, dear. You are a gift from heaven. See you soon. Goodbye. Here's a poem. Let me pinch these yellow dried leaves off your plant. No, please don't touch them, replied my aunt. I love the way they look. They are part of the mystery. The rebirth, the blooming, the slow end, it's their story. Every being is also part of nature. He, she needs love, encouragement, and nurture. However, some of us don't get it and slowly fade. Our souls shrivel up. And if we don't get aid, the outer body will crumple and totally dissolve, and nothing will remain. We should really resolve to push upward, grow, open our mind to the sky, love ourselves enough so no matter what, we'll try not to let where we're born decide the outcome. And continues my wise aunt, the leaves show me how it's done. The stalker. I came to Greece on my vacation. I had always wanted to visit the old temples, look at the decaying columns, go poke around antiquities. So I saved my money to go on this trip. I got off the plane in the blazing hot sun and smiled. I was positively ecstatic. I had the name of the hotel written down, and I gave it to the taxi driver. I could not wait to visit the sights that I was noticing from the car's window, but decided that I wanted first to go to the beach. After a quick shower, I got dressed in my usually college outfit, short shorts, and a midriff snug tank top. Heads turned as I walked down to the beach, and I was flattered. I noticed a gorgeous, wavy-haired Adonis who seemed to be following me. I spread my towel to sit on it, and there he was, sitting 5 feet away from me, just looking in my direction. A few moments later, I decided to go for a little walk, humming to myself and forgetting about him. And when I turned around to go back to the hotel, there he was, standing and looking at me. I started to feel somewhat uncomfortable, so I went directly to the dining room. He came in after me and sat 2 tables away, still staring. I went to the concierge to explain my plight, but he threw up his hands in the air and said in broken English, "You are so very beautiful. Men in our country appreciate. Look at their statues. We admire." I turned on my heels and went up to my room. I decided to take a nap. An hour later, I woke up startled and heard the door slowly open. The same man came in, walking softly towards where I had left my bag. I got up with a yell and lunged at him. He was so surprised that he fell back and hit his head on the corner of the marble mantelpiece. And you can guess the outcome, since I'm writing this from my prison cell. And to think, I've only been in Greece less than 24 hours. Tomboy, question mark. She wore a beautiful bow in her hair. It was pink, and she was going to a birthday party. Her mother had bought her a special dress for the occasion, and she had white socks and black patterned leather shoes. Her friend did not live far so that she could go there unaccompanied. Why was she feeling so uncomfortable? The ribbon was bothering her the most. She didn't feel cute or like a little doll, as her mother said. She hated Barbie dolls all dressed up. Her friends at school loved them and talked about the fun they had buying clothes for them. She spent her allowance on a football so she could play with the boys. There were no bows, no dresses, but dungarees and a t-shirt. She felt wonderful, kicking, tackling, falling in a heap, and once getting a goal, which secured the victory for the team. She will never forget that day. The boys carried her on their shoulders. She was one of them. She would dream about becoming a quarterback someday. Of course, she never told anyone about this. Whom could she confide in anyway? Her schoolmates who would be at the party talked about shopping, about movies, where they was kissing. Oh, yuck. She didn't really want to go. She felt awkward in this dress with the lace collar. Her feet were dragging. Then she sees one of the boys from the team coming towards her with a look of surprise. I almost didn't recognize you. You look so different. You look pretty. And he moved away and does not see how heartsick she is feeling, with tears streaming down her face. She thinks, I know he's going to tell everyone, and they will now think of me as a girl. Little did she know that a few years hence, she would love hearing the boy say to her, you look pretty. This story is entitled Heaven with a question mark. Well, so I've died. That wasn't so bad. Did I dread it? No, since I wanted it and I hastened it. All right, I'm the one who did it. So I guess I'm in my next life. But so far, all I've met are a bunch of snooty angels. I mean, I'm the new one on the block, so to speak, and you'd think they would have the courtesy, or at least the manners, to greet me and show me around. I've been here for 13 hours on this cloud, which is not comfortable, mind you. And I don't know where the hell to go from here. There, I've used the forbidden word. Maybe it will produce some reaction from someone since I said it aloud. All I get are indifferent stares from those on cloud now. I also expect someone to come by and ask some questions. I mean, I'm starting to wonder if suicides are shunned. I feel that I have a perfect right to be here. I had my reasons. All of them well thought out, and believe me, that is the only sinful, I mean, real sinful act I have ever committed. Up here, they may view things in a different light. I really thought that just before I died, I would see my life pass before me in a flash. It was not so in my case. I know deep down that it was a cowardly act to die in my mother's house. But think for a moment, who would have found me? I could still be rotting somewhere with no one taking care of my body. And I always prided myself on my appearance. I exercised, I took vitamins. Even at the last, I went to the beauty parlor to have my hair cut, my nails trimmed, and even my feet were massaged. After I went home, I put on my new dress and went in the bathroom and looked in the mirror and applied the right color lipstick. I also penciled and eyeshadowed my eyes, curled my lashes, and rouged my cheeks. Nothing was done in a hurry. Then, when I felt I looked my very best, I went to bed in my bedroom and did what I had to do. Am I supposed to be remorseful? Am I in denial? I suppose so. I don't want to think about the events of the past few months. I keep wondering if that is what I must do before I'm told where to go. From up here, it doesn't look like such a big deal. I was in love, I was betrayed, I killed myself. It seems childish to say it that way, but feelings have no age. Grief is not only for adults. Pain belongs to everyone. I've been sensitive since kindergarten. My parents were a good deal older when I was born. They felt that I was their miracle child and nothing was too good for me. I don't think that I was demanding, but I had everything. A thought just occurred to me, that I never gave anything in return. I remember once, when my father was on the road and my mother was quite ill, I went out dancing without a twinge of concern and came home well after 3 in the morning. My mother was waiting for me because she'd been too sick to prepare a dinner and she was hungry. I wasn't nice even then. I wonder why I'm thinking about this incident now. I met John in the back of a bus. We were in heavy traffic and moving very slowly. It takes an hour from Queens to the city, and this time it took a good deal longer. We were seated next to each other and started to talk about how late we would be at work. We told each other about our views on life, politics, woman's place in society, and when he had to get off before my stop, he asked for my phone number. He called me that same night, telling me how much he enjoyed meeting me, and we made a date. A few months later, we lived together. Oh, it was glorious. I loved him so very much. We had planned a Friday evening on the town, but at the last minute he said that something had come up at work and that he would be home late and we would do something special the next evening. Saturday afternoon, I needed some cash to go to the store and asked him for it. He told me to look into his wallet and take what I needed. As I took the money out, I saw a half-torn ticket stub to the Drew Theater dated Friday. I could hardly believe it. And that is when I planned it all. I know now why he went there. He knew how much I admired Joan Addington, the actress, and that she had gone to my school. So he went to see the play and talked to her afterwards to find out if she would like to meet me. It was to be a surprise, you see. And now I'm stuck in this place. I'm alone with my memories. I don't care if it looks like heaven. It looks like the other place and feels that way. And this because of a half-torn ticket stub. Rejection. Just some thoughts about it. What does it really mean? The word is not esoteric or obtuse. It means in reality that we have no more use for whatever we were using, looking at, or making a decision about it. It can be meaningless when it has to do with things. But when it comes to person, then it becomes a grave issue. To feel discarded like a rag, which is a popular phrase, goes deep. It goes to the core of our thinking, philosophy of living. And if there's nothing to sustain us, we can fold up and metaphorically die inside and still look to the world that we are alive, or really do something major like dispatch ourselves to another plane. Well, I have a solution. Become a zombie. Oh, that does not sound interesting? And I say, why not? Since you cannot feel either joy, hurt, or sorrow, you've won. You, my friend, cannot feel rejected because you cannot feel. Capiche? Understood? Ah, now you're belly aching about the world love, saying if you can't feel love, then life isn't worth living. Ah, well, you have to make up your mind. Are you ready to take a chance? What do I mean by a chance? It can happen that your love is not reciprocated and or you are left bereft, in other words, rejected. No, my dear, you cannot have it both ways. That is the chance you take when you have feelings. Again, I remind you, a zombie doesn't have any. Stop whining that life is difficult and it's hard being part of it. So, what's new? You think that's a revelation? You say we are only human. Yes, indeed, that is what we really are. And it is up to us to accept that fact totally, understanding that it comes with chutes and ladders, to use the title of a children's game. Well, it sounds more poetic than to say life has its ups and downs. Again, take a look at who you are, and the bottom is like yourself. I don't say love, because that can be the next step. But if you are able to do the first and someone does reject you, turn it around and think, too bad, he or she doesn't know what they're missing. I feel sorry for them. And go on your merry way. some other thoughts about the word rhythm. Rhythm is the pulse of the universe. We need it. It gives us joy. It gives us movement. We walk to it. We sing. We dance. Music is rhythm, and listening to it takes us out of sorrow. We can move with it with someone else without speaking, and we connect. We can be a group clapping hands, and there's a current of knowingness between all of us, which elevates us, and we become one for a brief moment. And that moment transcends the world and sends vibes to the universe. We feel and resonate when someone or people sing, whatever the classification of song, opera, blues, calypso, classic, etc. Voice is then used powerfully, and the more people join in, the more united we are, and feel that we are not only physical, but part of us is immortal, and the sounds coming out are pure and reach to some divinity. This is some thoughts about poetry. It used to be so very romantic to think about a poem living in a garret. His countenance would be otherworldly, tall, thin, pale, with large, sorrowful eyes, probably anemic, poor, shabby, and immensely appealing. He would have a narrow bed, a chair, and a table littered with crumpled papers. His lanky hair would be falling over his face. His long, tapered fingers would be rubbing his tired eyes. And after days of labor and creative meandering, he would have a 6-line poem, which of course no one would understand because it would be so deep and truly incomprehensible to us plebeians. But why do we have to associate poetry with living in a garret? And what really is poetry? Why make a mystery of it? It's made up of tiny moments which sparkle and illuminate briefly the fabric of our lives. And it starts at birth. The well-fed baby who is caressed has a moment of pure bliss, and it goes on and on. As adults, we are even more conscious of it. The tone of a friend who understands is pure poetry. The telephone call with happy news, the smile, the hug, the shared tears. And then the poetry of nature. We say that God is the creator of all things animate and inanimate. So now we know he's the great poet. And since we are made in his image, as many believe, then in our souls we are poets. Once we remember who we really are, the shift is made. That is all that is needed. Thank you. I appreciate your listening. Good night.